There are places that don't just hold sound, they hold memory. And if you stay long enough, the room plays them back. Not through speakers, through the walls. I hadn't been back to Studio C in over 20 years. The building looked smaller now. Gutted. Forgotten. The sign was ripped down. The awning rusted like something tried to burn out from inside. The lot was empty. Just me and a flickering street lamp. I didn't come looking for answers, I came because I had nowhere else to go. This place used to hum with life. 24-hour sessions. R&B royalty. But when Aaliyah died, something died with her. After that last session, they shut it down. Quietly. I was never supposed to come back. But the lock on the side door was broken. Almost like it wanted me in. The hallway smelled like mildew and old cables. Studio A, gutted. Studio B, stripped. But Studio C, still sealed, waiting. I stood there, hand on the doorknob, palms sweating. Not because I was afraid, because I already knew what was waiting. I pushed it open. The room hadn't aged a day. Boards powered off, but a red LED still blinked on the console. Dust floated like ash. A chair turned toward the booth, like someone just stepped away. The glass had a smear on it. Makeup. Or blood. I reached for the mixing board. The second I touched the fader, my chest clenched. There's a memory that doesn't play in your head. It plays in your bones. Suddenly, I was back. That night, that chair, Aaliyah. She stood in the booth, headphones half on, chewing her lip. But it wasn't the song making her nervous. It was the room. She kept glancing at the floor, tapping her fingers like counting seconds she couldn't hear. I remember her looking at me through the glass, her mouth forming words the mic didn't catch. Don't leave. I didn't understand then. But now I know. She wasn't scared for herself. She was scared I wouldn't be there to see it. I looked at the board again. Faded tape label. Vox, merge, final res. That wasn't one of hers. I never made that mix, but I knew it connected to that night, to what came after, to what took her. It started with whispers, not from her, from the engineers, runners, label assistants, lingering outside Studio C too long. I'd catch half sentences. She said no to it. Jay's not happy. Someone else will take it if she won't. I thought it was industry nonsense, but when Aaliyah started looking over her shoulder during sessions, I knew something was wrong. She was never paranoid, never high-strung. She floated through this industry like a phantom. But something shifted that last month. The sparkle dimmed, her laugh slowed, and when she sang, something in her voice like she wasn't alone in there. A week before the Bahamas, we had a late session. Just us and one producer who fell asleep. She kept rewinding her vocals, over and over. I can't explain it, she said. It sounds like someone else is harmonizing with me. But I never recorded a second take. She leaned close, speaking soft. I think she's copying me. I asked who no answer at first, then flat. Beyoncé. I laughed. I wish I hadn't. She didn't blink. She shows up everywhere now. Doesn't say much, just watches. She paused. I know people say she's sweet, but I feel something when she's near. She shivered. It's like standing next to an empty hallway with music playing down the other end, but the hallway never ends. Then she told me about him. Jay. He brought me to this place, she said. Not a studio, something older. She hesitated. Industry founders only use it when contracts aren't enough. I asked what kind of place. A room beneath the studio, soundproofed, no wires, no computers, just a mic hanging over the floor. She looked at her hands. It wasn't plugged in, but it hummed. I asked what he wanted. Sing, that's all. She exhaled. Sing into the mic and everything changes. Eternal rights. Placement forever. They promised I'd never fade. I asked if she did it. She looked me dead in the eye. It didn't feel like a contract. It felt like a trap. First time I saw her scared, she said Jay didn't get mad. Just said, if you don't want it, There's someone else already rehearsing your harmonies." Then he left her alone. The mic kept humming. The cymbals beneath her feet started glowing. She ran. 3 days later, she left for the video shoot. She didn't want to go. I remember the call. She sounded hollow. "They're rushing me. The plane's waiting." Pause. Then quietly, "I think it's because I said no." The night after she died, I got a message. No name, no subject. Studio C, midnight, no phones. I didn't ask questions. The parking lot was empty, building dark. I used the side door. Inside, the air was stale, metallic. The other rooms stripped bare, but Studio C? Unlocked. Waiting. No lights, no crew, just low music playing through the booth. Faint, familiar. Her voice, Aaliyah's. Not the radio cut. One of her raw stems. One I'd only heard during mixing. I followed the sound. The back panel behind the console hung open. I'd never seen it move. Behind it, a stairwell. Narrow, steep, lined with insulation foam. I descended slowly. At the bottom was a room I'd never seen. Circular, no windows, no equipment, just a single microphone suspended from the ceiling. Gold-plated, untouched by dust. Beneath it, a dark ring painted into the floor, musical notation in concrete. Then she walked in. Beyoncé. No team, no fanfare, just her in a black hoodie, face bare, unreadable. She didn't look surprised, didn't look at me at all. She walked past and stepped into the ring beneath the mic one breath. Slow, controlled. Then she started to sing, one of Aaliyah's unreleased melodies, a run we'd looped 100 times, but now it was different. Beyoncé's voice hit every note perfectly. Technically perfect, but it felt cold, hollow, like a replica that hadn't loaded. Then something else happened. It wasn't a glitch, not an echo, but somehow under her voice, just under, I heard something else. Familiar phrasing, familiar breath control. Like Aaliyah's voice ghost-tracked onto the same melody. Only this didn't sound like harmony. It sounded like someone being replaced in real time. Beyoncé didn't stop. Her tone deepened, smoothed. She adjusted mid-line, like sinking into something I couldn't see. The hair on my arms stood up, not from cold, from recognition. It wasn't her voice anymore, not fully. I looked up, a figure at the top of the stairs, watching. Jay-Z. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, completely still, like this was already happening without him, like this was long prepared. I turned back. Beyoncé's eyes closed now, breathing deeper, final notes slower, richer. When she finished, she smiled. Not performance. Relief. She looked at the mic, then at me. Our eyes met. She tilted her head and said a name. Not mine, not hers. Aaliyah's name for me. I hadn't heard it in years. No one else ever used it. My chest tightened. Beyoncé didn't wait. She stepped out, walked upstairs, disappeared. Jay-Z followed. No words, just a glance. Half acknowledgement, half warning. I stood alone in that room, beneath that mic, listening to nothing but somehow still hearing something. Back in the present, I stood at the stairwell again, hand hovering over the frame. Once I opened this door, I wouldn't come back the same. The door opened easy. No resistance, just silence. I stepped into the booth, Aaliyah's booth. The air was thick. One bulb flickered, then died. I turned toward the corner, a reel-to-reel machine. Old, rusted, shouldn't have been there. Nobody used analog in 2001, but this machine was running loaded. A blank reel, no label, just slowly turning, like it never stopped. I touched the metal. A memory hit hard. Late night, black SUV, Jay-Z in the driver's seat, Aaliyah in the back. He leaned toward her. Cold. If you don't want it, we've got the next one lined up. I thought he meant a track. Now I know he meant her. Beyoncé. More memories flooded in his visits those final months. Always watching, never taking notes. The things he told me: capture everything. Raw, takes only. Keep the board live even after she stops. I thought he was controlling. Now I understood. He wasn't preserving a project. He was preparing a transfer. I stumbled back from the reel, mouth dry, ears ringing. Everything in this booth felt ritualistic. A vessel, and I had helped build it. I turned toward the door. I looked back at the reel, still turning. But in its rotation, I heard something. A voice calling my name. I twisted the knob. Nothing. Locked. The booth door never locked from inside, but now it was sealed. I pounded the glass. No echo, just the reel turning. I spun around. Jay-Z stood behind the machine. Not flesh. Memory. But clearer than ever. Watching through the glass. Holding the reel. Sing, he said. Flat. Cold. Sing. Deeper. Sing. It didn't sound like him anymore. Something older. The lights flickered. The mic crackled on. I pressed against the door. This isn't real. But the booth filled with sound. Layered voices rising. Aaliyah, Beyoncé. Others, all whispering, sing. Jay-Z stared through the glass. The reel spun faster. Faster. The machine whined. The voices became a drone. I dropped to my knees, hands over ears. I didn't say yes. The air went still. Then, silence. I opened my eyes. The booth was empty. No reel, no figure, no lock. Just dust and the red standby light. I stumbled out. The hallway was shorter than I remembered by the console. I couldn't remember what I'd seen. Only fragments. A reel. A voice. A command. Something watching. The memory was slipping, not fading. Peeling. Like it lived in the walls. And now it wanted to go back. My phone buzzed. Blank screen. No message, just a recording prompt. I hadn't touched it. A red waveform bouncing. Listening. Waiting. The forgetting began when I left the booth, missing details. Skipped steps. I knew something happened. But the why, the who, fading like old tape. By the front door, I couldn't remember why I came. Then I looked at my hands. Still shaking. Still dusty. This place wasn't just a location. It was a container. For sound. For memory. Everything inside was recorded, not just music. Truth. And none could survive outside. As I stepped into sunlight, I felt it leave. The clarity. The weight. All dissolving like static. But one thought remained. This story is my last memory of that room. Next time I speak it, it'll be half gone. People said Beyoncé could sing. They weren't wrong. Range, precision, power. But that night, I understood what was missing. Not just talent essence, soul. Aaliyah had it without trying. Beyoncé wanted it. That night, she took it. After the crash, everything moved fast. Too neat, too scripted. But what stuck, Beyoncé dropped Work It Out the same week. And when I saw her perform, her voice made my stomach turn. Too perfect, like it was molded, not grown. I started noticing things. The way she'd hold notes longer. The way her runs would catch. Not in her throat, but deeper. Like channeling something fans called it evolution. I called it inheritance. I'd heard that exact catch in Aaliyah's voice. Same breath pattern. Same haunted softness. It wasn't copying. It was integration. The more successful Beyoncé became, the less anyone remembered Aaliyah. Not because they forgot, because her essence was redistributed, absorbed into someone who knew how to use it. Someone who said yes. I know what you're thinking. Conspiracy theory. But I was there. I heard it. I saw it. And every time Beyoncé performs, I remember that basement, that gold mic, that circle. How many others stood in that room? How many voices were transferred? This industry doesn't reward talent. It rewards hunger, and the hungriest don't wait. They take. Even if it means midnight in a basement. Even if it means singing someone else's song. Even if it means watching a queen fall. I'm telling you this before the memory disappears, before they demolish the building, before the last person forgets why they fear basement Studio C is still standing. Barely. The city wants to tear it down, but it won't let them. That room below isn't just a room. It's a door, and doors like that don't close. They stay open, waiting for the next desperate person, the next hungry voice, the next Jay-Z whispering, "If you don't want it, someone else will." Here's what keeps me up. Beyoncé isn't the last. I've started hearing whispers again. Different names, new voices rising too fast, artists who sound like someone else, someone who disappeared, someone who said no. Every time I hear those songs, perfect, polished, borrowed, I think about that basement, and I wonder if they know, if they realize what they traded, or if they're too far gone to care. I started keeping a list, not on paper, that felt too permanent, too dangerous, just in my head. Names of artists who vanished right before someone else's star rose, singers whose careers ended abruptly, mysteriously, and the ones who took their place, who suddenly had that something they didn't have before. The pattern was always the same. A refusal, a plane crash, a car accident, an overdose. Then silence. Then someone new, singing with a voice that felt borrowed, polished but hollow at the center. Sometimes I drive past the old studio, just to see if it's still there, and every time I swear I can hear something. Not from the street, from below. A low hum, like a machine that never stops running, like a microphone that's always on, always listening. I've seen cars parked there late at night, expensive ones, the kind with tinted windows and no license plates. I've seen figures moving through the darkness, entering through that same side door, young artists, hungry ones, the kind who'd do anything for a shot. And I wonder, did they get the same message I did? Did someone whisper in their ear about a private session, about a place beneath the studio where legends are made? I want to warn them. I want to run up to those cars and scream, "Don't go in there, don't sign, don't sing." But I know they wouldn't listen, because I wouldn't have either. Not when I was desperate. Not when I thought this industry was just about talent and hard work. Not before I learned the real price of fame. So, if you get that call, late at night, unknown number, offering everything you want. Private session, no questions, just sing. Remember this story. Remember Aaliyah. Remember what happens when you enter a room you can't leave. The industry doesn't just take your time, it takes your voice, your soul, everything that made you you, and gives it to someone else. Someone willing to pay. Someone who smiles afterward, not with guilt, with relief. But here's the worst part. I think Beyoncé knows. I've watched her in interviews over the years. The way she pauses when someone mentions Aaliyah, the way her smile tightens, the way her eyes go somewhere else, like she's listening to something no one else can hear, like she's remembering that basement, that circle. That night she became something more than human, and sometimes, when she performs, I can see it. A flicker, like there are two people on that stage, her body, but someone else's soul fighting to break through, someone who never got to finish her song. Last month I got another message, same format. No name, just an address and a time. But this wasn't Studio C. It was a new location, different city, but I knew it was the same room, the same ritual, the same door. I deleted it, but it came back, again and again. "You saw it," the final message said. "You know how it works. We need someone to document the next one." I haven't responded, but I haven't blocked the number, because part of me, the worst part, is curious. Part of me wants to see it happen again, to witness the transfer, to finally understand how they steal a soul and give it to someone more useful. I walked away that night, but I took the truth with me, the kind that eats you inside, and now I'm giving it to you. Not because I want to, but because if I don't, it'll disappear. Just like she did. Just like all of them. The names you don't remember. The voices you can't place. The artists who almost made it until they weren't. They're all still singing, just not with their own mouths. They're echoes now, background tracks in someone else's masterpiece. And every time you hear a perfect note that gives you chills, that sounds too good to be human. Remember, it might not be. It might be pieces of people who said no, given to someone who said yes. So, yeah, if you get that call, remember this. But also, no, you probably won't listen. None of them do. Because the hunger is stronger than the fear. The dream is louder than the warning. And by the time you realize what you've walked into, you're already in the circle, already singing, already becoming someone else's voice. That's how they get you. Not with force, with opportunity, with the promise that you'll finally matter. They just don't tell you it won't be you anymore. I still have nightmares about that microphone. Gold and gleaming, hanging in the dark, humming, always humming, even when no one's singing, especially then, because it's never really empty. It's full of everyone who stood beneath it, everyone who gave themselves away, and somewhere in that frequency, in that eternal hum, Aaliyah is still there, still singing, still trying to warn the next one. But the room is soundproof, and no one outside can hear her scream. Have you noticed how some artists sound exactly like someone who died too soon? Someone who never got their moment? Let me know in the comments because I heard it happen, and I can't unhear it.